We begin the panel discussion, which is about entrepreneurship, and it basically focuses on mindsets and how and why does this mindset really matter. So developing an entrepreneurial mindset for students. So we've heard throughout the entire day things about creativity, the talks, and even Faith spoke about it. Decision in problem solving and decision making. So entrepreneurs need to be very skillful, and they must grasp the art of creativity, decision making, and problem solving. So I would love to request Dr. Khalid Al Hazmi, the moderator of the panel, the director of the National Center for Internet of Things and Robotics Technology from King Abdulaziz City of Science and Technology, to lead this panel discussion. On this panel with him, we have Mr. Osama Ashri, the founder of Saudi Entrepreneurial Ecosystem, Dr. Muhammad Azam Rumi, the Vice Dean of Executive Education and the Professor of Entrepreneurship for the Prince Mohammed bin Salman College of Business and Entrepreneurship. And we have Mr. Swapnil Jain, the CEO of ORAI Robotics. Gentlemen, over to you, Dr. Khalid.
Thank you. Very good.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Excellencies, honorable CEOs, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this panel, which is about Mindset Matters, developing an entrepreneurial mindset for students. I'm Dr. Khalid Al Hazmi, the director of the National Center for Robotics and Internet of Things Technology at King Abdulaziz City for Science and Technology. I'm so delighted to be among you here in this panel, and I would like to use this opportunity to thank you for attending this panel and also thank the organizers of this event. I'm really honored that we have three distinguished panelists today, and allow me to introduce them without going into their tremendous achievements and rich experience. I have here Mr. Osama Ashri. Mr. Osama is the founder of the Saudi Entrepreneurial Ecosystem. Also, we have Dr. Muhammad Azam Rumi, Vice Dean, Executive Education and Professor of Entrepreneurship at Prince Mohammed bin Salman College of Business and Entrepreneurship. Also, Mr. Swapnil Jain is the CEO of ORAI Robotics. We have less than 50 minutes for this session, and I will try to spare 5 minutes at the end of this session for the audience to ask the panelists. So let us get started with this session. So how we view ourselves and the world around us impacts our ability to dream and achieve. In today's innovation economy, where needs and opportunities are evolving faster and more fluidly than ever before, our youth need a mindset that gives them to recognize opportunity, take initiative, and innovate in the face of challenges. Many people question whether entrepreneurial skills and mindset can be taught effectively in the early years or even at all. Some question whether business-oriented topics such as entrepreneurship should even be taught in classrooms. As not every student will become an entrepreneur, but they will all someday need to think like one. I would like to start with Dr. Muhammad, and then other panelists can answer the question from his view. Let us begin with a fundamental question. What is an entrepreneurial mindset? The floor is yours, Dr. Muhammad.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid. Entrepreneurial mindset. You know, the classic definition of entrepreneurship is pursuit of opportunity beyond the resources you currently control. You're absolutely right that not everybody has to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody has to start a business, but everybody can have an entrepreneurial mindset. And what is entrepreneurial mindset? This is your question. An entrepreneurial mindset is that life is not black and white. Life is not which you can predict all the time. life is full of uncertainties. Yes, COVID is one extreme example, but in your daily life as well, there are uncertainties. There are situations which you have not predicted before. So when that situation happened, whether you are running your own business, whether you are a bureaucrat, whether you are working in an office as a clerk or as an officer or a manager, you should take that uncertainty, because that is a surprise, and give life back the lemonade, which means life has given you lemons, you give them back lemonade, which means that you work on those problems and issues and challenges and you deal with those situations. And number two, whatever resources you have to work with those resources. More resource, don't look for more resources. Like whenever in an office, you want to work on a new project, most of the time people say, where is the money? Where are the resources? So an entrepreneurial mindset is that you have the same resources and you are playing with those resources to generate results. And once you start generating results, people will accept it and resources will start pouring in as well. An entrepreneurial mindset is that you work on affordable loss. You don't jump from the 5th floor without having a soft cushion. When you are going to jump, you have to see that whether I will break my bones or I will die, or you don't want any of these things. So you make sure that you calculate your risks. And last but not the least, you also know that you cannot do things alone. You need to have network, you need to have connections, you need to have people who are there on whom you can depend upon and they can help you. So you have to find those people and you have to work collectively. So I think this is the shortest possible reply to what entrepreneurial mindset is. And I'm sure my colleagues can add value to it as well.
So thank you, Dr. Muhammad. The same question goes to Mr. Osama.
Thank you for the introduction, Dr. Khalid, and thank you for the invitation to this forum. And I look forward to adding value to this panel session. I'm very also excited to be amongst friends and colleagues from the sector. Let me start with an extreme definition of what entrepreneurship is, the one by Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn. So he says entrepreneurship is about jumping off a cliff and assembling your airplane or airplane on your way down. So this is perhaps one of the extremist definition of what entrepreneurship is. With that in mind, I do believe entrepreneurial mindset is about thinking big, starting small, failing fast, learning and repeating, and eventually succeeding and celebrating. So this is perhaps the fundamental of what an entrepreneurial mindset would look like. Now, from that, maybe a couple of other aspects emanate. So the first of which is that we have to understand that entrepreneurship does not exist in a vacuum. Simply put, a startup is not about the product or service that you're trying to build and deliver. It's not about just the team. It is not merely about obtaining funding. It's more than that. A startup is greater than the sum of its parts. So we have to keep this in mind when it comes to nurturing an entrepreneurial mindset. And we have to also instill such a holistic view of what an entrepreneurial mindset is in our students. The third point is that we have now, in today's tumultuous world and complex world, I do believe, personally speaking, and based on practice, that the typical and traditional linear logical engineering mindset is a mindset for failure. And so we have to encourage our students to find solutions to big problems in today's world that the traditional way of thinking would fail to solve in today's world. And by which I mean is that we have to not only encourage them to pursue the realization of such ideas to big problems, but also to pursue such the realization of such ideas with leveraging what they have, what do they know, and who do they know, fueled with resilience and a bias for action.
Thank you, Mr. Osama. And I believe the same questions goes to Mr. Jan. So, Mr. Jan, if you wish to answer the same question.
Right, so thank you and very good afternoon to everyone. For me, then, entrepreneurship mindset is a mindset of a person who loves to create. I mean, a mindset which is always ready to take a risk and ready to overcome with the challenges, and most importantly, learn from the failures, learn from the setbacks which he gets almost on everyday basis. I mean, in my view and nutshell, she is really ready to go beyond the boundaries and enjoy the adventurous journey of an entrepreneurship rather than just enjoying the success. Because success is very less, the journey is very important in this entire mindset. I mean, if you look as an entrepreneur, I mean, they are a jack of all trades. He have to be good CEO. At the same time, he have to be a good peon. He should be a leader. He should be a financer. He should be an HR qualities. I mean, he should have everything with him in order to become an entrepreneur. So it's not easy to just think of that, hey, today, can I just go and become an entrepreneur? Because no, it doesn't really work. And why does it really didn't work is because the most important thing what you need to start an entrepreneurship is that one idea. And what you do, you take that idea. The first thing you do is you go to your friends and families. 90% of your ideas get crashed at that point of time because they only show you what is not possible. They never show you what is possible. So when I became an entrepreneur and when I started, it's like multiple failures. And then I realized that going to friends and families with your ideas is the biggest failure what I've been doing consistently. The day I started not sharing any ideas with anyone and I started working on my idea myself and started building it a prototype to POCs to bigger thing, that's what I realized. The mindset is here with you. And that mindset cannot be seen with other folks as well. So developing that mindset for yourself that you can be an entrepreneur, the first thing is basically build yourself, make yourself strong enough, and be ready for the challenges which is going to come every day. That's how the mindsets are built. What do you call it?
Thank you, Mr. Jan. I believe we've heard three different, what do you call it, definitions of the entrepreneurial mindset. All of them explain this concept. So thank you all. So as entrepreneurship is being recognized as important for success in all areas of life, because it is a pathway that enables people to address real-world challenges, seek opportunities, and find new ways to create value. My second question that I would like you to answer is why such entrepreneurial mindset is critical for success today and in the future. So, Dr. Muhammad, if you would like to begin.
Okay, so why it is critical for success? I will tell you one thing. Entrepreneurship is not always success. In material terms, there might be failures, there can be setbacks, there can be all kind of situations where you get disheartened as well. Entrepreneurship is when you go through these kind of circumstances, and even then you can stand up again and work on the same thing in a different manner, or you can work on something new, something different, something unique. This is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is very close to the real life because real life is not always a bed of roses. real life is not always smooth. So basically, when we talk about entrepreneurial education, it is not only about creating new businesses. That's what we preach at Mohammed bin Salman College for Business and Entrepreneurship as well. And not only preach, but we also apply it to our students' knowledge as well. We create entrepreneurial leaders. And when we say entrepreneurial leaders, we say people who know that they will work hard, they will take surprises, they will take risks, they will build connections, they will fail. There is a possibility that they will fail as well, but that failure is not their destination. Their destination is far ahead. They will rise again, they will amend their mistakes, they will work upon that according to the society, the culture, the values, the economy in which they are, and then they will rise again like phoenix from the ashes. And I think this is what entrepreneurship is. And that's what we need here in Saudi Arabia, in the Gulf region, and all over the world as well. That's why entrepreneurship is the buzzword. But I tell you again, it's not always success. It is not the paycheck which you receive every month and it's the same. Maybe in the first few years, you have to survive on the basics. Maybe you will not get anything. You will pay out of your pocket for a number of months or years. But once there is a windfall, that windfall will be huge, which is beyond your expectations and imaginations. But for that, you have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice your time. You have to do efforts. You have to take it on the chin. You have to fall down, and then you have to rise again. This is entrepreneurial mindset. And that's what we prepare our students at Prince Mohammed bin Salman College of Business and Entrepreneurship in Saudi Arabia.
Thank you, Dr. Muhammad. The same question goes to you, Mr. Osama.
It's a very important question. So answering the why part of the equation, I believe that strategic planning is dead, especially in today's fast-paced, complex, tumultuous world. By the time you start implementing whatever is stated in the strategic plan that you or anyone has devised or formulated, the idea would by then become obsolete. So I guess the premise of embracing an entrepreneurial mindset is to act rather than to plan, is about acting first, learning from that action, and those, let me step back, it's about acting intelligently and reflecting on that action, learning from that action, and then building. It's more of an iterative process. So it goes back in to build off of that learning and then start acting again and to fine tune and to help in shaping whatever idea that you are trying to accomplish. So this is, I guess, would be a more relevant strategy and more relevant mindset for today's tumultuous and complex world. And to navigate through such a world would require, in my opinion, an entrepreneur or embracing an entrepreneurial mindset. So going back also to my previous point, we have to also shy away from thinking in a linear and logical and engineering fashion and start thinking of tackling big issues and big problems in a more systemic entrepreneurial way.
Thank you, Mr. Osama, for sharing your view on the why question. And the same question goes to you, Mr. Jian, if you would like.
Right. So what is the single most important factor influencing person's success? I mean, whether it is personal or a professional. For me, it is a developing positive mindset. I mean, what do you think about consistently has direct impact on your behavior actually, and not in any other format. So it is important to get the fundamental ingredient very, very right. That you stay with the positive folks, you think positive, you read positive. I mean, for me, I am a foodie and I eat a lot and I love eating at all the points. I think that eating has also gives me a positive vibes. So something is small things which gives you and positive vibes is something which I always love doing and wanted to bring into me to give me that kind of push for the entrepreneurial mindset. Uh, I mean, seemingly small things that makes a huge difference. Mindset accounts for the primary distinction between those who have succeeded and who have not succeeded. So this small positive mindset plays a role in very importantly. And if you're serious about achieving success in any area of your life, I mean, you must learn to master your mind with the thoughts of success. That's very, very important. So everyone, I mean, even a teenager should develop and should and can develop an entrepreneurship mindset. And I mean, from my experience, I can list down few of the key ingredients which will be helpful for everyone because I have used it. I have personally used it. I have learned it hard way. So developing healthy self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-commitment. That's the one thing which is very important for your entrepreneurship mindset and success. Talk and connect to only positive thinkers. Maintain and winning perspective always. That's the another thing. The next is like train your mind to achieve success every day. Live it virtually every time. I mean, if I resemble something and if I want to be successful, I always dream of, okay, if I become a successful person, what will I do? How will I behave? What will I drive? And I start living that virtually. So living that virtually becomes a very, very important for your success journey. Consistently take continuity and consistency is one of the important things. Take one step every day, create a small task every day, achieve that task, complete that task. Automatically that will help you build the mandates for the point number which I've told about is a self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-commitment. The next big thing which Dr. Muhammad very much times and highlighted, be ready to fail and be ready to come back. So because this is going to happen continuously to you. It's not that you have started a journey and you have succeeded in a one go or many goes. You are going to fail continuously. You're going to fail every day probably, but you have to come back again. Entrepreneurs makes money by chance. It's not always they are going to make money, and they rather help build money for other people and probably the committee. So you be ready that you're not starting an entrepreneurship that you want to become rich. Okay, it's not that easy. You may not make money, but you may probably make money for the employees, peoples, and the community. So that should probably give you a happiness. So that's more important. So yeah, Mr. Khalid, I think these are a few pointers from my end on that side.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Jan. Developing an early self-starting thinking process is so important that will lead you to become a future entrepreneur. Our third question in this session is that what is the importance of entrepreneurship education to develop entrepreneurial mindset? So Dr. Muhammad, the question goes to you.
Okay, now entrepreneurship education, and this is a dilemma. A lot of people ask this question: can entrepreneurship be taught? Can leadership be taught? And things like that. And there are two schools of thought, definitely. And I belong to one school of thought, and I will reiterate my point of view. And that is, I ask people, can you teach anybody to play piano or play football or cricket? And people say yes. At least those people whom you will be teaching, they can play cricket or football or piano at the basic level. At least they will understand how to play it. Maybe they will not be the Pavarottis of the world. Maybe they will not be the Sunil Gavaskar or Ian Botham of the world, or Ronaldo and Messi of the world, but they can at least understand what it is. What are the rules and regulation? How do you play it? How do you apply it? How can you enjoy it? And if entrepreneurship is taught in the proper, appropriate manner, for example, Babson teaches it entrepreneurial thought and action, and Brother Osama is one of the alumni of Babson. Yes, entrepreneurial thought and action, you can be made aware of entrepreneurial thought and action. You can be made prepared for all kind of uncertainties which you are going to face. Yes, there is no hard and fast rule. There is no right or wrong answer, but you can be given certain skills and certain attitudes can be inculcated into your personality with practical hands-on learning activities. It's not lecture type teaching where a professor comes and he explains certain theories, because you cannot teach about entrepreneurship. Like you can teach about the rules of the laws of physics. You can teach about that. But for entrepreneurship, you have to teach for being entrepreneurial. So there is a difference between teaching about and teaching for. When you teach something to play cricket or piano, you teach them for playing piano or play cricket or football. You don't tell them about football or piano, or you don't tell them that piano was made by this person and these are the people who can play piano and these are the different components of piano. You tell them this theory, but they won't be able to play piano. So you prepare them for playing piano with practical, hands-on, experiential activities. And that's what if you do when you are teaching entrepreneurship, definitely people will pick up. Some people will pick up more than others, but at least all of them will start thinking entrepreneurially. And remember, not everybody has to go out and start their own business, because this is against the rule of nature. Nature does not want all of us to do the same thing. All of us are not doctors or engineers or bureaucrats or lawyers. So we are in different professions and we are doing different things. But all of us can think entrepreneurially. And if you want to prepare people for thinking entrepreneurially, yes, you can prepare them, but in a certain manner. You cannot teach them in a traditional way people used to teach physics or chemistry or English or biology. Those are different subjects, and entrepreneurship is totally different. I think Osama can shed more light into this because he is also a proponent of entrepreneurial thought and action. Yes, Osama.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Khalid. Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. Well said. I do agree with what you've just highlighted to a great extent. It might be, let me actually start by echoing what Peter Drucker once said. He said, entrepreneurship is neither science nor art. It's a practice. So in that sense, teaching entrepreneurship is more of a facilitating process rather than a typical classroom, teaching entrepreneurship in a typical classroom environment. And to be more practical about teaching entrepreneurship, it's far more important that the real world is far more important than the whiteboard. So we have to get students doing something on the ground rather than teaching them on a whiteboard what entrepreneurship is. So this is a very critical component of teaching entrepreneurship. I do remember at Babson, the first class we took was called Create, where we had to go on the ground and create something with whatever resources we have. The notion that Dr. Mohammed mentioned earlier, knowing our affordable losses, and come back and report whatever we have developed. So I guess it's about pushing the students to go to the field, experiment. It's a mindset of experimentation, a mindset of leveraging what do you know already, what do you have, and who do you know in your network. It's about getting them plugged into not only the university-based entrepreneurship ecosystem, but the wider local ecosystem, and have them experiment and learn from that. And we have to remember, I guess, entrepreneurship education is the only domain, in my opinion, where that is different from any other domains. So teaching entrepreneurship, you don't have to create a safe learning environment where students learn. That might apply for any other domains in engineering, physics, whatnot. But when it comes to entrepreneurship education, you have to create as a risky classroom environment as students would face when they go to the real world.
So, yeah, Mr. Khalid, so my perspective here, rightly said by both the professors, like entrepreneurship cannot be taught. And in fact, I have learned it a hard way myself. I mean, and that's like continuous failures. I mean, you have to keep on getting failed in doing certain things, which helps you to learn the lesson for the life. And as Dr. Muhammad was saying, like hands-on learning has to be there. So what is the best thing to learn hands-on experience? Open up your own enterprise. Start doing something of your own. And once you start doing of your own, you will realize the kind of challenges what you actually encounter into, right? And as Dr. Usman was saying, right, that entrepreneurship has to be a creator. And that's very true. I mean, he has to be the creator. I mean, today, what I was doing or the business I was into 10 years back is no more important to anyone today. The innovation is changing big time. So today, if you have to see the technologies like AI, ML, RPA, what we all are talking about, we have to leverage them. We have to leverage and think about what we can create new. And the way you create it new, in my experience, I mean, I was running an organization for the last 13 years. Now, the services and the work what I used to do is no more much relevant to the industry. I shifted and opened up an AI, ML, RPA based technology company. The advantage is, I mean, I had an experience of an entrepreneurship. The moment I became a startup again, within 6 months, I was able to go to almost worldwide. I opened up and got the customers worldwide and 50 plus customers within a 6 months time frame. That's where my experience of an entrepreneurship came up. But again, a creator. It has to be a creator every time. It cannot be that you have created one, because the organizations which were big in the past is nowhere into the world map today. But the organizations like WhatsApp, or maybe like Tinders, or maybe like Snapchats has a global space today. That's where the innovation and entrepreneurship should be there, keep on creating and keep on learning hard way.
Thank you, Dr. Muhammad, Osama, and Jan. Nowadays, we live in an era where artificial intelligence, robotics, data analytics, data science, and other emerging technologies will transform our lives. 5G, and nowadays people are talking about 6G connectivity will change the game. So my question to you all, how can technology and other supporting mechanism be leveraged to foster entire entrepreneurial mindset in youth?
All the question you started with me, and I would like to answer this question, and I would like to relate it to the question which is coming from the audience, and I'm reading here is it necessary to study the possibility of risk or to start without any risk study? And I'm relating it to the technology which you are talking about. And Swapnil has talked about it as well. What was relevant 10 years ago is not relevant at all. Thank You for Being Late was written by Thomas Friedman in 2017, in which he talked about 2007 to 2017, what happened. The world changed. Believe me, the world has changed from 2017 to 2020 at an exponential way. The things are different altogether. We don't know most of these things, or we are coming to know about those things. So how can I study the risk? I cannot study the risk. The world is uncertain. You can only study the risk when you can do the prediction, when you know that what you have in the bag of life. You don't know what is in the bag of life. You did not know like I did not know on March 5th, 2020, that I will be homebound for the next 6 months. I had no idea. Despite all this technology which is available, and yes, technology helped that, yes, business was as not as usual, but it was almost usual because of the technologies which we were. Now, remember that during the COVID time, the innovation scene was like a pressure cooker. Everything was jumping inside. Now, the moment it is going to open up, as Pfizer has said that there is a vaccine, and the moment the vaccine started, all those innovation will erupt and you will see those changes. Am I ready as an entrepreneur for those changes? Maybe I have no clue about it. I will come to know about it when it will happen. Or maybe I am a bit information seeking entrepreneurial mind, which is trying to know about things. But how many things I can know of? I'm a human being, I have only 24 hours. So the technology is changing at an exponential rate. No human mind can leapfrog with the technology as well. They cannot match the speed. So they have to have certain skills which they can apply no matter in which situation they are. If you watch a James Bond movie or Indiana Jones, the situation James Bond comes across, nobody has taught him how to deal with those situations because every situation is different. Believe me, AI, machine learning, and all those technologies, they are going to be in different forms and shapes which we have no idea about it. So we have to be ready with certain skills which we can apply in whatever situation we are. And that is where you cannot predict. You cannot do the risk calculation. You just go and fight. You have an armor and you are a warrior. An entrepreneur is a warrior who is there in the battleground and he does not know from which side anything will come. He has to make sure that he is saving himself from everything. And that's what an entrepreneur is. I know that the time is short.
Thank you, Dr. Muhammad.
Knowing
Yes, thank you, Dr. Muhammad. As we are exceeding the time limit for this session, so let us just pick one question from the audience and then give 30 seconds for each panelist to answer. We have one question from the audience. It says in here, how does education, competitiveness, and innovation contribute to entrepreneurial development? We already have answered part of this. However, like the relationship between competitiveness, innovation, and entrepreneurial development. So anyone, Osama, Dr. Muhammad, or Jam? We have 30 seconds to answer this question.
Maybe I'll just give my 2 cents on this and some concluding remarks on some of the key takeaways from the session. So I do believe that innovation, competitiveness, etc., are outcomes rather than just parts of a single process. And producing such outcomes would require that we pursue specific ideas that we are interested to solve specific problems with an entrepreneurial mindset. Now, a couple of last points, just addressing the question on the risk element of entrepreneurship. Simply put, the cost of failure at early stages of the idea development and realization process is way less expensive than failing later in the process. So it's very important to experiment and iterate very early on when it comes to building a new idea, building a new product, a service, or an enterprise eventually. And my last point with that I would like to conclude is that we have to think, when it comes to entrepreneurship education, we have to think beyond the classroom. So the chief role of any entrepreneurship educator is to curate an ecosystem where students can readily plug into to pursue whatever dream that they have, and to pursue also the realization of their ideas and bring such ideas to fruition. With that, my last maybe statement is always think big, start small, fail fast, and iterate, learn, and eventually celebrate and succeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Osama. Final thought from Dr. Muhammad and Mr. Jan. We have less than 1 minute to end this session. So, Dr. Muhammad, go ahead, 30 seconds, or Mr. Jan.
Right. So I think all thing is covered. If I have to give one-liner, one should first find his or her interest, create that interest as a passion, look for a various structured program, because today you have a lot of institutions helping you to become that kind of an entrepreneur, as Dr. Muhammad already said. Convert that passion into a profession first. Learn good, and after that profession, you are all good to go and build an enterprise which can be recognized globally. That's it.
Excellent. Now, my answer to this is that competitiveness needs innovation. Innovation needs curiosity. Curiosity can happen only when you have to change your thinking process and the thinking pattern, and you have to be playful. And that is the role of role of education. That should be the role of education. Education should not be only giving degrees. Education's main role is to make people curious, to think about it, to reflect upon it. And if this is happening, innovation will happen. If it is not happening, people are cramming certain subjects and books and reproducing it in exam. Curiosity will not happen, innovation will not happen, and the nation will not be competitive. That's it. Thank you very much. You were a lovely panel. I enjoyed.
Thank you all. With this, we come to the end of this session. So I want to say thank you to the speakers, Dr. Muhammad Rumi, Mr. Osama Ashri, and Mr. Swapnil Jan. So thank you all. You were awesome. Thank you for your time and the great engagement we had today. I really appreciate it. And have a good day all.
Thank you.
Thank you, panel. Thank you very much for an insightful session. Though it did go a bit over time, but it was all about a main purpose, which is about the entrepreneurship mindset. And definitely, everybody in the attending this conference, they would definitely be having that mindset somewhere inside. And good to know that Swapnil, you are a foodie. So that thing is definitely a key takeaway for me. And thank you very much, Dr. Khalid. Thank you very much for moderating an amazing panel. Thank you, Osama, and thank you. Okay, Dr. Rumi has left the room, but anyways, thank you very much.